Assalamualaikum and good morning to our panelists. Welcome about to this forum. Topic that we will be discussing in today's forum is about places that we would like to preserve. After a long discussion with the other panel, the places that have been chosen is Kota Mahsuri. I will ask the panelists a few questions about how can we preserve the historical places. But before we started, I would like to give a brief information about Kota Mahsuri first. So, Kota Mahsuri is believed to be the place where Mahsuri binti Padak Maya was buried on Langkawi Island, Kedah. Uh, the final resting place of a beautiful maiden. For Allah say that Mahsuri's tomb or Makam Mahsuri is ushering to one of the most beautiful women to have ever lived on the island. It is located around 12 kilometers from Kuah and is located in the complex area of Kota Mahsuri, Bukit Mula, Melaka. Legend has it that she was accused of adultery and executed by stabbing. It is then that white blood flow from her, proving her innocence. After a few decades, Mahsuri's mausoleum has been rebuilt and equipped with a museum, a traditional theatre, and a Kedah house that represents the popular Langkawi house at that time. A well called the Mahsuri Well is also found in the complex. With this history as the background, Kota Mahsuri has been used as a tourist spot for the tourists from and also outside the country. The history of Kota Mahsuri is what that makes the places have a special place in the tourist hub. Alright, now that I have already give brief information about Kota Mahsuri, I would like to ask our panelists a few questions about Kota Mahsuri and also how can we preserve that place. So, panel A, I would like to ask you a question, which is, why should we preserve the place or that monuments?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Before I start, thank you, moderator. My name is Afnan Arjuna. Okay, why should we preserve the Kota Mahsuri? For me, I think the reason why Kota Mahsuri should be preserved is the history because of Kota Mahsuri is the heritage of our place. If not us, who else will preserve that place? Okay, for the next reason, in my opinion, why we need to preserve Kota Mahsuri is because to ensure that the story of the Kota Mahsuri become permanent and is considered a true story and just a myth. The location and the story of this Kota Mahsuri is evident to the world that this Kota Mahsuri come from a true story and is the main attraction for the stage of Kedah. And for the last reason why we need to preserve the Kota Mahsuri is so that the future generation can see and feel about the story of Kota Mahsuri. That's all. That's all for me.
Okay, thank you panel A for your opinion. I really understand why you said that. So, as for the next question, I would like to ask you, how do we preserve cultural heritage in our country?
Okay, for the next question, in my opinion, the way to preserve the heritage in our country is to create a day in this country as a heritage day, where on that day is dedicated to wearing heritage clothes and holding talks about heritage. In addition to that, the university also conduct heritage activities by sending volunteers from among uni students to carry out heritage program. And this and at the same time preserve the heritage in our country. In addition, I also suggest to do animation in the form of comic, which heritage such as the city of Mahsuri, where the story of Mahsuri itself is made into a story in comics or animation. With this animation and comics, young people will surely revive the spirit of heritage, and this will preserve our culture heritage forever. That's all for me.
Okay, panel A, thank you for answering your question. So I would like to ask panel B next. I would like to ask you, what if there were no monuments? What are your opinion? Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Before I start with my point, my name is Muhammad Nizaruddin. Okay, I start with my point. Based on my perspective, if there are no monument and historical place, it will make that area lose its own identity to be show the uniqueness and beauty about the area. Besides that, when there is no more historical place, it also will affect all the history and heritage of that place gone because of the people who didn't have knowledge about how uniqueness and beauty that place with its own history. For example, Kota Mahsuri has its own history that famous with the curse of legenda Mahsuri, and also with this story they had the curse of Mahsuri, and also with this story tale had made Kota Mahsuri become very popular and attract the tourists to visit that place to learn about more Kota Masuri. Okay, that's my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you panel B for answering my question. So I would like to ask panel A back. My question is, how do we educate our children on heritage preservation? What are your opinion, panel A?
Okay. Thank you, moderator. In my opinion, if we talk about our children, we need to do or act out a good character because children are a reflection of parents. First of all, my opinion is that as parent, we need to apply from childhood. That is, reveal from childhood to children which heritage in Malaysia. For example, a parent can take their children to museum and tell them about what are they watching and tell them about the story and greatness of their heritage. In addition to that, as parent, we can take our children to place with historical place during their school holidays. By spending their school holidays in historical place will make the children more fun to learn about the history of the place they are going to. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you panel A for your opinion. I also agree with you on that point. So uh, I will ask panel B the next question, which is, what are the steps taken to protect the place or the monument?
Okay, okay. Thank you, our moderator. Uh, Before I start with my point, thank you, our moderator. Okay, in my opinion, first step in protecting historic location like Kota Masuri is for the government to set aside a particular fund to conserve historic areas in Malaysia, such as Kota Masuri. It is a part-time for Malaysia to follow the lead of other industrialist countries by allocating funding in the national budget to preserve this history location. Okay, next, history location can be improved, which adequate money to attract visitors from other countries. Following that, amenities such as rest areas, restaurants, and so on can be erected around the location of this historic area to help visitors. Okay, that's my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Panel B, for answering my question. As for the last question, I would like to ask you, what are the agencies involved in heritage preservation in Malaysia? What are your opinion, Panel B? Thank you.
Thank you, our moderator. In my perspective, the agency involved in historical preservation in Malaysia is the National Heritage Department. The National Heritage Department grew out of the Heritage Section of Malaysia Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Cultures. Okay, this agency will be in charge of protecting and maintaining the national heritage, as specified in the national heritage actually of 2005 years. The National Heritage Department principal tasks include enforcing the terms of the 2005 National Heritage actually conducting heritage research and development and maintaining and conserving national heritage. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Panel B, for answering my last question. Alright, guys, now that I already asked the panelists, the two of you, a few questions, and all of them gave a really brilliant answer. I think I did not have any question anymore to ask the panelists. With that being said, I can say that Kota Mahsuri is really an historical places that need to be preserved. All parties should involve themselves and do the best that they can to make sure that Kota Mahsuri will stay as it is right now, and also to make sure that the new generation can learn the history about Kota Mahsuri in the future. Thus, I would like to thank our panelists for spending your time to be in this forum. Thank you, our viewer, also, and I will see you in the next video. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.